Some More Good News Season 2 is all about people doing good through following their passions, good for their own souls and for others. I'm Kate Chericello, and welcome to today's episode. Let's spread a little more goodness in the world.
Today's guest is Dr. Cindy Wong, and I am thrilled that you will get to hear from her because Cindy and I crossed paths many years ago working for the same corporate fitness management company, Plus One, and then skip ahead, and she's going to school for acupuncture. I get a concussion. We're talking at one of the gyms one day, and Cindy offers to do a little bit of acupuncture on me to see how it works with the concussion. And I'm telling you, it was like a miracle happened. I tell everybody, you have to go check out acupuncture if you have ailments like that, because it was night and day after Cindy started working with me for acupuncture for the concussion, and she has treated many an ailment of me ever since, and she's just an all-around wonderful person. So Cindy, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Kate, for having me. It's really exciting to be here. Thank you very much. Well, going back to how we met, yes, it's a little story about myself. I did my undergrad work in nutrition and exercise physiology. And post-graduation, I ended up working in corporate wellness, just like Kate. And so I've gone through like all the panels of like personal training, group fitness, and in management. And when the market crashed, I decided that staying in corporate wellness was not the way to go for me. And so I decided to go back to school then. And I decided to go back to acupuncture school. And I actually recently found out that my grandmother was actually a acupuncturist and herbalist. And I did not know that because I only even found this out recently from my dad's aunt, because she actually gifted me a acupuncture chart. And I said, where did you get this? This is an authentic acupuncture chart, because all the points are in Chinese, and it's dated, it's a very old date on the chart. And she said, oh, this is your grandfather's. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, your grandfather and your grandmother actually both studied acupuncture, but they never practiced acupuncture. And I said, wait, what? And I didn't know this. And I love my grandma, and God bless her, but she's passed away, and she's been long gone. But I didn't know this when I was little. I didn't know this growing up, and but I didn't know that my grandmother was an herbalist, only because she had a refrigerator in the basement that had all these funky looking herbs in the basement. Anytime anybody got sick, somebody had to drink something gross. But it worked, and everybody was, well. And when I was in school and I was doing my clinical rotation at Columbia University, before we started our rotation, I actually had to get vaccinated, make sure that my vaccinations were up to date. And so I went to my doctor and I got a panel done, and, I just wanted to see which antibodies I had. And I said, okay, which ones do I need boosters for? And my doctor says, oh, you need a chickenpox booster. And I said, no, I don't need a chickenpox booster, because I had chickenpox when I was a kid, I remember. And he said, no, you need a chickenpox booster. And I said, no, I had chickenpox when I was a kid. So the story with that is that when I was a kid and I had chickenpox, I was actually very excited to have chickenpox, because you get to stay home for a week, you get to eat ice cream and watch.
I remember that.
Right. And that didn't happen for me. So I come home from school and my grandmother sees me and she's like, oh, you have chickenpox? She's like, oh, okay. So what I need you to do is I need you to have your lunch and I need you to get ready for a bath. Right. And I said, okay, fine, whatever. Right. So she's cooking something in the kitchen. And so she's cooking this herbal soup and she's cooking this herbal wash. And so she bathes me in this soup. First time I see this, I thought that, oh my God, my grandma's going to eat me. Right. And I was just like, holy cow. Because I already had spots already at that point. I already had the chicken pox already. And I was only home for 2 days. I went back home. I went back to school like the 4th day. And I have no scars. And apparently my grandmother did such a good job that it didn't even come up in my blood work that I had chicken.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm like, yeah, grandma, thanks. I had to get another booster for chickenpox, but yeah, with acupuncture, it actually has been very fulfilling in terms of, what am I doing now? It's kind of like in conjunction to continuing the wellness and the preventative medicine. I'm more on the preventative medicine side versus, um, traditional medicine, where it's more of just treating whatever you have after you've developed the ailment. So, but either way, it's been really exciting in terms of like the patients that we have and what we're doing, and it's really it makes you feel good, when you see the patients and they walk away and they say that, thank you for helping me. And so, it makes you feel good. And I appreciate that. And that's kind of like where I want to continue to go with this.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. That's such an interesting story too, how it started, back when with just you're kind of surrounded by this herbal culture and whatnot. And now it's
Yeah.
led to, with all the
Yeah.
stops in wellness along the way, led to this.
It has. And it's really organic, I feel. I feel like it's come full circle in that sense. So I'm really happy about that, because it wasn't more like, oh, you have to go here, you have to do this.
Right.
It was actually very organic in development. And so I'm really happy with that. Now I've been practicing for 7 years now, and I have a practice thriving in Midtown, and it's exciting. You actually get to see patients again versus like being in the managerial position where it's more like meetings all the time and things like that. And so you're looking to kind of have that connection with people again, and so it's really nice to do that again.
Great. Can you tell us more about where you are right now with the practice? And I know that you recently bought it. So can you tell us more about what you do there?
Yeah, so I'm actually the owner and clinical director of Yin Tonic Acupuncture, which is in Midtown, New York. And I have actually been working in this practice 5 years prior to that. And prior to the pandemic, I actually bought the practice, and I've been working at the practice ever since. COVID has actually slowed things down, but COVID has also kind of given me some perspective in terms of the little things in life.
Please expand, because that is my next question for you about that.
So I also had a baby during COVID.
Yeah. That little detail.
So that was kind of like whoa, you're having a baby during COVID. But yeah, so in terms of the timing, it actually kind of worked out in terms of maternity. I actually got to spend some time with my little one at home, and it was actually really nice. It's my second pregnancy, so it's also not as stressful as the first one. You kind of know what to expect the second go around, not perfect, but still, you still kind of have, you still know what to kind of expect. But business is thriving and we're doing really well. And recently I have started working with a colleague of mine, Dr. Lily Gillespie, and she is working with women who are delivering, who are having babies in the postpartum term, in the fourth trimester, as they say. And so in the Chinese culture, there is something called confinement. And so confinement is the period after you've delivered your baby, where you need to kind of nourish yourself back to prior to your pregnancy, just so that you can kind of get back to doing what you need to do. And you also need to kind of help with like lactation as well. And so my practice primarily focuses on women's health, but with this, I also feel like this also helps in terms of the women's health aspect, especially for postpartum women. And so this also helps with like minimizing depression. It also helps with kind of like getting their bodies back post delivery, kind of helping with their large bellies, minimizing their hips, just to kind of get back to their normal body post delivery. And also helping with like lactation as well. And basically you just kind of want to boost your constitution to the point that like you feel and act like how you were before you had your baby. And so that's kind of like the goal of that. And she has many aunts, and grandmas that actually have done this in her family. It's actually more of a traditional lineage education that she's had. And so it's actually really, really interesting. I've actually sat in with her with a few patients, and it's actually really exciting and like what they're doing because, most people's moms have some degree of knowledge of how this works in terms of confinement. But when you actually see someone who's actually professional at this, it's a totally different game. It's actually totally different concept in terms of like the things you have to do, the things you have to eat, and how to support yourself postpartum. So it's actually really exciting.
That's such an incredible service too.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's
Yeah.
such a wonderful example of so much goodness and helping others
Yeah.
and just what a needed service too. Cindy, are there any other examples of goodness through your work that you've found, people you've helped? I mean, I can speak for myself with how you saved me after the concussion, but or even just personally, what's the fulfillment you found through doing this?
I've had like a lot of fulfillment with working with patients through my acupuncture. I've worked with a variety of patients, be it like tinnitus, being it like back ailments, sports medicine injuries, and stress management and women's health. And so that's kind of like the overall umbrella of patients that I am normally seeing. And it's actually really fulfilling when you actually have a patient that comes back to you and says to you, hey, you've been really, really great. This has changed my life and I want to keep up with this. And, they realize that, acupuncture and herbal medicine is more of like a support rather than just a one-time deal. It's more of like taking care of yourself as you go along. It's just like diet and exercise. You really want to have something else in order to kind of build that skill set and to take care of yourself because your mechanics change, your physiology changes as you get older. And so, obviously the way you take care of yourself is going to be different too. And so it's actually really fulfilling in terms of seeing patients come back after, years or months coming back and say, hey, you did a great job and I really appreciate it. And it's nice to just get a card or an email, and it just puts a smile on your face and you just say, hey, that's great. That made me feel good. And so that's kind of where I am at this point.
I love hearing that. And Cindy, one more question for you. Do you have any like mantras or sayings that you find yourself repeating over and over again to patients, or even something you've picked up over time?
It's actually really simple. It's actually really basic. I always tell my patients to breathe. And it's actually something that I say as a mindful meditation. It doesn't necessarily have to be meditation per se, but this actually helps with patients that suffer from insomnia, anxiety, and high blood pressure. So it helps in multiple ways. So I always tell patients to like breathe in through their nose for 4 seconds and then breathe out for 4 seconds. And so the important part of the breathing component is that ha sound. And so if you've ever taken like a yoga class or Pilates class, your instructor will always say to you, they talk fast, they walk fast, they do everything fast, right? So that also means they breathe fast, right? So if you're very anxious about something or if you're unable to go to sleep, this actually helps you kind of lull yourself back to sleep, it also drops your blood pressure too. So if you're feeling very anxious at the moment, like so you got some scary news or something happened at work, you may want to take a step back and say, okay, I'm going to step back, I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to regroup. And then I'm going to try to figure out what's going on at work. And rather than setting that all caps email, what is going on?
Reactiveness.
Sending that all caps email doesn't do anybody any good, So you definitely, that is like my advice for a lot of patients is just to take a deep breath. And a lot of them have actually come back to me and said, I've suffered with insomnia for a really, really long time. I've taken all kinds of medications. I've done all kinds of things. And this doesn't cost me anything. And this is the only thing that works for me. It's like, where were you 10 years ago? And I said, I'm like, you knew it. You just didn't know, So it's just one of those things where something so simple can be really, really helpful, and I always tell
Absolutely.
patients to just take a step back and to just breathe, and everything will work itself out.
It's perfect. I feel like whoever's watching, there was a collective like blood pressure just went down on everyone as they started to slow down their breathing, listening to you.
Yeah.
Cindy, I can't thank you enough. And please tell us where we can find you online, to follow you, to reach out to you.
You can schedule an appointment if you're interested in coming for acupuncture. You can just shoot me an email at info@yintonicacupuncturenyc.com, or you can visit us at our website at acupuncture-newyork.com, or you can just Google Yin Tonic Acupuncture, and it will come up in your Google search. So,
Right. And I'll put all those in the notes as well.
Okay. All right then.
Excellent. Cindy, thank you so much for your time and
You're
just
very
for all the
welcome.
people you're helping.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It was a great pleasure being here today.
Thanks so much for listening. We need all the good news we can get. This is Kate Chericello. Please follow me at positively_Kate on Instagram for more. And if you have stories of good news that you know need to be shared, please do send me a message. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much if you shared it with your friends and left a review. Thank you, and see you next time.